Hey, pen people, Brian here. I am traveling today, so I'm not in my usual setup, so please forgive the odd look here, but I wanted to get a video up anyway, so here we go. A while ago, Scriveiner sent me these two pens to review. I reviewed this one, and this is the Scriveiner Classic, and it's a really nice pen. I really like it a lot. It's since made it into my regular rotation of pens. It has a lot of really cool things going for it. I haven't reviewed this one yet, partly because I've been busy and partly because I just haven't really known what to make of it. It hasn't really made its way into my writing hobby the way this one has, and I want to talk about why. That's going to be the focus of this video. And I want to let you know, I just got into Amazon's affiliate marketing program. So if you shop for pens on Amazon, which is actually one of the main places you can get these pens, I'll have affiliate links below to both pens. And what that means is that as an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. So if you use my links to make a purchase, I make a little money, not much, and it doesn't cost you any extra, it just means Amazon makes a little less. Anyway, let's move on with this review. So this is the Scriveiner EDC fountain pen, and it comes in a bunch of different colors. So one of the first things that I want to talk about is the overall shape and design of this pen. It might look a little bit familiar if you are used to Kaweco pens. This pen mimics that design a little bit, where you have a longer cap and a shorter pen body. So when they are closed, it creates a smaller pen, but when you open the pen, you can post the cap on the back, and this one actually screws on, and then you have a full-sized pen. They're definitely taking some design elements from the Kaweco Sport, and I think they do a good job for the most part with those design inspirations. One thing that I think they actually improved on over the Sport is that this is actually significantly longer than the Sport. I don't have my Sport with me since I'm traveling, sorry about that, but I can tell you that this pen fits very comfortably in my hand without being posted, even though it is shorter than most pens. And I can kind of do this with my Kaweco Sport, but I would say that the barrel would probably end somewhere around here, so it would be barely kind of dangling, and it's not the most comfortable thing. So with the Sport, I definitely prefer to use it posted, but this I can use unposted very well, and I like that. There are options with this pen that you don't have with the Kaweco Sport, and I think that that is really interesting. The comparison I can give you is with the Scriveiner Classic, and actually they're almost the same size. That's actually kind of weird now that I'm thinking about it. Let's take a look at one more pen. I do happen to have one of my tried and true Lamy Safaris here. Okay, that's a better comparison. You can see it's a little shorter than the Safari. Not by much though, to be honest. So it's not a huge pen, but it's not super tiny either. And because of this design, I think that's where they get the name EDC from. This pen is supposed to be more compact and portable and all of that kind of stuff. But I actually have some problems with the idea of this being an EDC pen, and we'll get to those in just a second here. First, I want to point out some things that I do like. I like the logo here. It looks nice. I think it looks a little nicer on this other one where there's a little more depth to it, a little more detail rather than just kind of a plain stamped look, but it doesn't look bad. It looks nice. The clip is really cool. I love the clip on this. It's got this really fancy look here. I want to say this is like some kind of like Art Deco kind of design. I don't even really know what Art Deco is. I just hear people say that. And it's a really functional clip though. It's firm but springy enough, and it has a nice little kind of half sphere under there where your fabric won't catch on that if you're putting this in a purse or backpack or your pocket. It's a very functional clip, very fancy looking, so that's really nice. The pen overall is metal. It's got some good weight to it. We'll get back to that when we get to the cons. But it's very durable. This pen will last you for a long time. So that's one thing this pen has going for it. I think one of the weak spots is that the threading in the cap is plastic and the threading here is metal. And I have other pens that do that. It doesn't really bug me that much. It feels nice. I just think that that's probably where this pen will fail you first, even if it's like 10 years down the line. I don't really know how long it would take. The nib is really nice on this pen as well. I really like it. It's a Schmidt Nib, not branded as Scriveiner, just a plain Schmidt Nib, but I really like it. Actually, these two pens were my introduction to Schmidt Nibs, and I have since gotten a Benu pen, which also uses Schmidt, and I really like them. And it's a little different from the ever ubiquitous Wobble nib. The threads here are metal on metal, which is nice. They work well. And it comes with a Scriveiner branded converter, which is nice. And it is actually a screw-in converter. I'm not going to take it out because I don't want to make a mess, but it screws into the body of the pen, much like my Mont Blanc pen does. So that's kind of fancy. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Let's look at a writing sample really quick, and then we will move on and talk about some of the cons I've found with this pen, which for me personally have been deal breakers. But let's take a look at how this pen writes, and we'll go from there. Okay, so this is the ending of a poem by John Donne. It's one of his holy sonnets, and it's called Death Be Not Proud. And it's really worth a read through the whole thing. It's only 14 lines long, so it's not very long. And this is just the last line of it. It says, "And death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die." And this poem has been on my mind a lot lately, especially because my grandfather just passed away a weekish ago. So I've just been thinking about that a lot. I think this is a really powerful poem to consider, especially when bad things happen to the people that we love. I know some people will call me crazy for this, but I think John Donne is right. Death will die one day. We may not be able to fully understand what that means right now, but I take great comfort in the fact that death is not as permanent as it seems, and I believe that we will see our loved ones again. All right, there you go. So this pen writes well. I did have a little bit of trouble with this nib at first, just some minor skipping. I did the little trick where you flex the nib on your thumbnail, and that very quickly fixed the problem, and I have not had any problems since. And it's been a good pen. This is a medium nib, and it's interesting. It's definitely just, you know, your typical medium with a little ball tipping at the end, but I almost feel like I get a little bit of line variation in there, not because of any kind of flex or anything. It almost feels like it has something to do with the grind. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if that's typical. I don't know if I'm just making that up, but it is kind of a unique writing experience. This nib kind of feels like it has its own personality. So yeah, it's a nice one. It's a nice one. I think that the nib is one of the things that I really do like about this pen. Now, before we get to what I don't like about this pen, and there's a list of things that I don't like about this pen, if you wouldn't mind just hitting the like button for me, that is a really simple thing that you can do to help my channel grow and help this video spread to more people. I really appreciate your support. Okay, so the first one I'm going to start with is actually one I just noticed while filming. This clip seems to be just a little bit loose. Not a deal breaker, but it definitely doesn't feel as nice as it could. It's not going to shake and rattle, but there's some play in there, and that isn't ideal to me. Really, that's probably just a nitpicky thing. The two main problems I have with this pen have to do with its weight. So when you post this, yes, it becomes a nicely sized pen. It doesn't feel like it's, you know, going too far beyond my hand there, but it is very back weighted, and I don't really enjoy that back weight. Because it's not hanging off my hand too far, I think for some people it probably won't be a deal breaker, but for me, I don't really enjoy that. And the other problem I have with this is just the weight overall. Even though this pen is slightly smaller than average, it's one of the heaviest pens I own, and for me, it has not proven to be good for long writing sessions. I notice some real hand fatigue when I use this pen. Maybe I just have a wimpy hand, I don't know. But for me, this pen is too heavy, which leads me to my biggest complaint or at least question about this being called an EDC pen. If you want a pen that is going to be an EDC item, an everyday carry that goes with you everywhere, do you want it to weigh like 4 times as much as this EDC pen? I don't think so. So to me, this seems way too heavy to be versatile enough to be a true EDC pen. Sure, you can put it in your pocket and, that's fine. But it just, I don't know. I just don't think that I would enjoy carrying this around. Now, a couple other things have to do with the cap closure. First, let me zoom in here. You can see that it has been scratched right there in the middle. And I actually expected that to happen. I don't think that that's really a design flaw of this pen. I think that that's just kind of a flaw of this overall design in general. So Kaweco pens, you kind of get the same thing happening right there, at least with my plastic sport. There are some scratches right there. It's just the nature of the design. And I don't really fault the pen too much for that, but it's not ideal to have this super polished pen and then have it almost immediately develop scratches right smack dab in the middle of the barrel. So not ideal. Not a deal breaker. Not ideal though. One thing I have struggled with as well with this pen, and this is another reason why I'm hesitant to call this an EDC pen, is that while the cap is very nice coming on and off the pen, I've had this cap come loose on me unintentionally, and I'm not sure if it's because I just didn't screw it on all the way or not, but I've become a little wary of having this in my pocket or another tight space because I worry about the cap coming off and all kinds of mess happening. So that's just something that I've noticed. And again, I'm not really exactly sure what's going on there, but it's something that I'm a little suspicious of. So my final thoughts. This pen has a lot going for it, but like I said, I don't like it as much as this one. And there are a lot of things going on with this EDC pen, in my opinion, that make it not great for an EDC pen, an everyday carry pen, which is problematic because that's literally the name of the pen, is the Scriveiner EDC. If you like this pen, if the design works for you, if you like heavy pens, then I say go for it. I think that this is, in many ways, a good pen. It's a good writer. It's classy looking. It just, for me personally, has not really worked out. And I feel like for a lot of other people, it might not really work out either. But if you are specifically on the hunt for a good EDC pen, I think there are better options out there. So I'm curious, what's your go-to EDC pen? What pen do you daily drive? What pen do you carry around with you? What pen do you travel with? If someone were looking for an alternative to this, what would you recommend?